Guys, good morning. This is Nate doing another day hike here in New Mexico. I'd say we're probably central New Mexico is an accurate descriptor. Goal for today is to hike up Mosca Peak in the Manzano Mountains. It is on the north end of the Manzano portion of the Cibola National Forest. I believe it denotes basically the border between the forest lands and the Isleta Pueblo reservation. So I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward hike until we do the final push up to the summit. My understanding is it's very steep and there's a lot of brush. I started via the 4th of July trailhead, which is very famous locally as being one of the very few maple groves in New Mexico. So it's a very popular spot for leaf peeping. My understanding is this place can be kind of a zoo in the fall, but right now I'm the only person here. In fact, the campground's closed, but nonetheless, I'm the only person here. So, all right, heading up the peak. I've definitely beaten the trail crew out here. There's quite a bit of deadfall in the trail. It's making pace a little bit slower than I'd like. That's our goal for today, peeking through the trees. Mosca Peak. Something really big just went lumbering that way. I caught like just sight of it and I saw it in the light. Looked like I don't know, dark tan maybe, and then it just bolted. I think it might have been a bear because kind of did that lumbering lope versus an elk, which would kind of run. It also looked a little too rounded to be an elk, but you know, I barely caught a glimpse of it. I made sure to shout a few good times. Whatever this thing is, I'm not sure. I don't think it's interested at all in me. So I'm gonna keep on moving. I don't know if you can see that deer center screen. So maybe that was a deer before and the light was just tricking me into thinking it was something scarier. Hey-oh! Ah! Yeah, the thing's not moving. It's plain dead. You can see it there, right there, center screen. There you go. Now after that exciting 5 minutes, we're on the crest trail. I think this is gonna be so beautiful, as my son would say. You can't really see Mosca Peak, the tip right now, but this is kind of its southern ridge. And when you just look at the map, it looks very tempting to want to, you know, work your way up the ridge and then kind of do the more gradual slope up. But you can see that it's got these palisade-like cliffs that pretty much keep you from doing that. My understanding is where we're going to ascend, which is basically due east of the peak, shouldn't have this issue of these cliffs. Okay, the GPS track I'm following, I think he goes like another 100 yards before going left to the west. But I see like a little use trail here, so I'm gonna follow that in there. He's just starting to open it up nicely. Bushwhacking fun. Well, we're not at the summit yet. We're probably another, I think we're about 300 vertical feet and maybe like a quarter mile, 2/10 of a mile, something like that. Man, this is a rough bushwhack. That was something else. You have to be determined to get up to the top of Mosca Peak. Okay, after what I would call probably a light class 3 or high class 2 move, we're kind of above the cliff band. We're gonna try to finish out this scramble to the top, or I should say bushwhack. This is what passes for the path of least resistance up here. This is wild. Easily the worst sustained bushwhack I've ever had to do. The scourging is almost over. I believe that's the summit that we're looking at. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going the right way, but I'm scrambling up this little tiny tunnel basically. Pine bush. Sorry for the wobbliness. There's so much brush, so many thorns, so many branches, so many trees, so much rocks, so much loose dirt. Woo! But we're almost there. Oh, the sweet summit, sweet summit. Here we are. Oh, yes. Oh, God. That was something else, I have to tell you. Oh, boy. Ooh. Boom. Sorry. Boom. You have to forgive me. I am worn out. All right, well, that was quite the climb. I think I'm going to title this video something like the worst bushwhack I've ever done, because it certainly was. I've never done a bushwhack that was that sustained, that steep, and that just, dense. Really dense. My hands have all these cuts in them now, and I'm sure I'll get more on the way down. Yeah, a lot of times if I'm doing some bushwhacking and it sucks, it's like, oh, it's all waist high or it's all thigh high. This was like head to toe, dense, just, it was, I don't want to overplay the difficulty, but certainly if you have some friends that you don't want to keep, take them up here. I'm sure that they will not be your friend after this hike. Behind me are the two other mountains I've hiked in the Manzanos. This is my third time being in this beautiful range. So we've got Manzano Peak in the way back, and then Mosca Peak kind of closer to us. Love the Manzanos, totally beautiful. This summit is incredibly beautiful. It is a very I don't want to say jagged, but it is very dramatic in how quick it rises. In fact, I want to say like the last quarter mile to the summit, you're gaining something like 600 feet of elevation. It's pretty significant, or if not more. Might be like 800 feet. But I feel pretty good. This is probably I would say with almost certainty, this is my most strenuous hike since my injury. Probably, I think it might be more elevation gain than Guadalupe Peak, but I can't really remember off the top of my head. I was originally thinking about driving back down to southern New Mexico to do West Blue Mountain this weekend. Last weekend I did my Madre Mountain and Eagle Peak, and as you recall, if you watched that video, I planned on spending the night at the trailhead for West Blue Mountain and doing that hike. And then I was just like, you know what, I'm tired of driving. And then the great irony would be that I'm going to drive more the next weekend. But I kind of decided, you know what, I do think that that's good for an overnight weekend. I'll go sometime in the fall or next spring and pair that with probably Vic's Peak and or San Mateo Peak. But anyway, yeah, great hike. I do think getting down will be a lot easier. All the mass kind of gravity helping you kind of get through all this brush is way better than trying to come up through it. So my experience is that tough bushwhacks like this tend to be a fraction of the difficulty on the way down. But we did make good time. We got here in less than 3 hours. Just about a 4.5 mile hike. But really this last half a mile was brutal with the pace. So when you factor that in, I think we probably spent about an hour getting up the summit. And I think we could probably knock on wood, I wouldn't be surprised if we halved that on the way down. But anyway, already ate my lunch. I'm gonna kind of film some of the scenery and then I'm gonna walk back down. Okay, time to head down the peak. I hope you don't mind if I can't wait to catch up with you until I'm back on trail. Because unless something interesting happens, I'd love to just focus on getting down this thing. Well, there is a way up the cliff fan that requires basically no technical scramble. You might consider it a very low class 2, but it's up this way. You could probably, if you go up these rocks on the right, technically I would say you're scrambling at that point, but it's a lot easier than kind of forcing yourself through the brush, even though that might be on paper class 1. And more fun. Man, that patch of open grass, I'm pretty sure that's where the trail is. God, I want to be there so badly, but first I have to make it through all this. For reference, what you're looking at, not right in front of me, but like that back there, that's all like 8 feet tall. That is way more brutal than it looks on camera. Sweet freedom. It did take me about an hour to get down, so it possibly could have taken more than an hour to get up, but definitely going downhill didn't speed me up too much. There's just so many thorns and stuff that like you can't even just like muscle your way down, and plus it is quite steep, so you really have to watch your footing. Oh, but sweet trail. Man, with that deadfall lower down on the trail is gonna feel like tiny little sticks compared to all that. Whew. All right, we are getting pretty close to the 4th of July Canyon campground. I just wanted to say that before I signed off that despite the fact that I was hating on the bushwhack I had to do to get up there, I would 100% recommend this peak. It is, if you can stomach the bushwhack. It's not like other peaks like Redondo comes to mind, and the Jemez, where I'd never want to do that one again because the bushwhack was awful and the views weren't great. Mosca Peak, definitely think Mosca Peak is worth it.